Album der Woche. Für euch entdeckt und vorgestellt von Flux FM.
So this next track is called Free. This was one of the first tracks that I wrote for the album. Coming back to Australia, I don't remember how long I was there, but I was in a garden in Mullumbimby, which is a place that I was born. I've got a real visual memory of like looking into the light, and there's like just trees everywhere kind of filtering the light. It was just like a feeling that I woke up with in the morning. Maybe like a passing of a season. I just felt like a bit of a shift in me, just a bit of a change. Maybe realizing a few things, like overcoming some problems that were in my life, and feeling like this lightness kind of come over me just from that shift.
Coming back.
We were just about to fly to Australia, and we booked a studio in Berlin the day before we left, and I think it was just an absolute fight to get it finished before then, and it was like this trifecta of Patrick, Noah and I trying to finish the melody and the lyrics just before we hit the studio, which is sometimes a good pressure. I feel like it's worked for us in the past of just like, just having to finish it, because you can get really stuck there. This next song is called Theworstthing. This is a song that Patrick wrote, who's the other songwriter in the band, who's not here. And yeah, I think it was he had this as a demo pretty early on in the process of writing these two albums. And I think we all pretty much fell in love with it straight away. Just had this like feeling, and also one incredible strength of Patrick's songwriting, which I will always look up to, is his his way of words, and just his incredible depth in actually writing truly from his person, from his heart. And it's always like something very deep that he needs to communicate for himself, actually. This next track is called Now I Care Some More. This was a song that I wrote, I think actually around the same, I was in Berlin, I feel. And it was early on, again, in the album process. All the tracks that we've talked about so far have been pretty early on, it seems, coincidentally. But yeah, it's strange because it was a long time ago, and the strange thing that you have to do as, I guess, a musician, quote unquote artist, is have to continue to play or sing or perform these songs that you may have actually gone through the process of overcoming, like the initial feeling that you had when you wrote the song. You can actually, overcome that and move from it. And then when we were recording that song, I felt like I had to really push myself to get back to that feeling. And you may or may not get there. I feel actually I tried, but the demo had something, because I was really just in a state, and by the time we recorded it, I moved through it. But maybe that's my pessimism. I don't know. I think it's always a challenge as a musician or recording to get that feeling, and come back to it. Somethinggreater, yeah. This was one of Noah's tracks that we first heard him singing to us when we were staying in Australia all together in the bush.
Just outside of Mullumbimby.
In a beautiful, like, old rickety wooden house. We put ourselves in there for 2 months and wrote together. Such an awesome experience. It was, I mean, Australia was going through a bit of a thing back then. Like, there was bushfires everywhere, and at the same time there was floods. And we had this house and everything was going on in the world, and we kind of just were all together and kind of feeling pretty safe and cozy in this house. And we would just watch these floods just like pour over the house, and there was a river there that completely washed over, including we saw a dead kangaroo come up, and then we had to bury the dead kangaroo.
Really?
It got really smelly.
Yeah, the smell started creeping into the house, so we had to go out and find that smell. And it was this
Yeah, it
poor
was a real
kangaroo by the river.
bonding moment for us.
Yeah.
This next track is called Neverloved. Take it away. Yeah, this song is kind of maybe the antithesis of what we're trying to achieve with this Day and Night. More deeply, lyrically, because we always had this kind of blanket idea of day and night from the very start, and that represented, I think, at the core, a feeling of nature, and how important that is. And I think also we're listening a lot to like film music and really just trying to express, maybe as like a homage to nature itself, and maybe a reaction also to where the world's going, you know, just having a space and a reminder to go back into what we need, which is the environment. But then the further we looked into what day and night meant was really kind of interesting. And at the time I was also, for the first time, getting into meditation like the rest of us. Seems to be like a big global movement, and also looking just a little further in for the first time, a bit of introspection. And with that, we noticed that the day kind of represents this outer world, where lyrically and also environment-wise, we're looking out and we're being a part of society, and it's all about relationships with other people, because of many reasons, but you know, it's light, we are going out into the world. And then the night represents this turning inward, and this inner world that can be a very safe space, but also a pretty unpredictable, unknown, going within. And so the day is like this outer world, and the night is the inner world. And something that I'd picked up on was this idea of the shadow self that Carl Jung talks about, and the idea is that, which is a term that he coined. I think actually the ancient Greeks had the word, but he reintroduced back into psychology. It's enantiodromia, it's a beautiful word, which is talking about when something goes fully into itself, it becomes its opposite. So the idea was that we had this space to go directly into what hurt the most, like lyrically speaking and musically speaking, going like really into the darkest, most evil parts of yourself and really facing them and writing about them. So Neverloved was essentially that. It was just like this idea that actually I was beginning to feel that I didn't have the capacity to actually care and love for somebody. And within going into that world, it it was actually a movement for me, like personally, just to actually embrace that shadow idea, and in doing so overcome it.
This next track's called Famous. It's a track of Jules's. It was like there's the same idea that within the night you're allowed to say whatever you want.
Yeah, well, I mean, this idea of fame was something I realized in myself. A part of me wants all this recognition, and it's a subconscious movement that we're all heading towards, but we know it's a trap. As a band, to be successful, in a way, it's to become famous, and then it's a huge problem, as we've learned in history. As soon as there's any sort of fame involved, the bands fall apart. So it's a good thing to confront early, I think,